Today, I'd like to bring you into my wood shop and show you the beginning process of building a slimline pen out of Cocobolo wood. This pen is going to be built or made for a customer in Ireland. He has specifically requested Cocobolo wood and desires a twist slimline pen. So the first process, which I've already completed, is to take the pen blank, which is 3/4 by 3/4 inches in diameter and about 5 inches long, and cut it in half, or approximately half, which I've already done using my bandsaw here. The next step is to take each half of the Cocobolo wood pen blank, and mark its exact center point, or as near to exact as possible. Then we can mount it in the lathe. So now, stepping over to my lathe, I've taken one of those two pen blank halves and I've mounted it into my 4-jaw chuck here on my lathe. I'll provide you with a close-up shot here in just a moment. So on this left side, where the motor is, I've got the chuck and the pen blank mounted in the chuck. And then on the right side, I have mounted a 7mm brad point drill bit. I'll show you a close-up now and then proceed to drill a hole straight through the center of that first blank. Thereafter, I'll drill another hole through the second blank. So here at my lathe, you'll see the pen blank mounted to the 4-jaw chuck here on the motor head side, and on this side, the 7mm drill bit, which will drill a perfect hole straight through the middle of this blank. The next step in building the pens is to take the blanks that have been pre-drilled with the holes and add the brass tube pen blank inserts. To do that, we take the brass insert and rough it up with sandpaper. That way, when you apply the glue, it will hold more securely. I'm using a medium CA glue. This is kind of like a super glue, and so if there's any contact with your skin, it's going to stay put for quite some time. To do this, I've got a little bit of a helpful tool here. It's an old pen. I put the pen blank on the pen just like that. This helps eliminate possibilities of getting CA glue even on the gloved hand. Then I apply the CA glue and while turning the blank, I put the CA glue and the pen blank in and withdraw it. Make sure that it's not protruding from either end, and that's it. So next in this process of building a pen, I'm over here at my sanding disc, where I will be sanding the ends of these pen blanks so that they are flush with the brass tubes at the edges. So there I hope you can see the brass tube is flush with this end of the pen blank. So here I am at my lathe, and I've got my pen blanks mounted to the pen mandrel attached to the lathe. I'm going to go ahead and put on my safety gear, glasses or goggles. This is not quite finished. I'm going to get another lathe tool to smooth that out, and then I'll do this pen blank over here, and I'll be back with you when it comes to the final sanding process. Okay, so I've gone through the process of sanding the blanks, starting with 150 grit, then going to 220 grit, then 320 grit, and then 400 grit, and now I'm on the final sanding using this 600 grit sandpaper. After that, I'll begin applying CA glue finish. Okay, now I'm ready to begin applying the CA glue. CA glue comes in a tube like this, or a bottle I should say. After I apply each coat of CA glue, I put a little spray or spritz of this accelerator, which helps the CA glue instantly dry. I wait 30 seconds between coats, and again I apply about 18 coats. Then at the very end I allow it to dry for a number of minutes before I can put the pen parts together. So I'm going to start this process. You'll notice I'm wearing a glove along with a little baggie here. The plastic baggie helps make sure that I don't get CA glue on my hand or my fingertips. So I'm going to go through one revolution or one step of applying this CA glue, and then I'm going to turn the video off. I'll proceed to apply the other 17. You don't need to watch say 17, 18 minutes of this process. And then after I'm finished completely with this, I'll get to the final polish process, turn the video back on and show you that. So turn the lathe on. And now begin the process of applying the CA glue. Okay, I'm going to turn this video off again, and I'll be back with you when I'm ready to do the final polish. Okay, now that I've applied 18 coats of fine CA glue, allowing each coat to dry about 30 seconds or so between, I'm going to go through a 9-step process of sanding, wet sanding the blanks to make sure that the finish is super smooth. I start with a 1500 grit sand sponge, and I go all the way up to this 12,000 grit sand sponge through all of these. Each process takes it takes most time on the first process, because that's where you've got to get it down pretty smooth, and then the rest of it's just polishing little by little through each of the grits. I'll leave the video on here for this first process. It's the longest of the whole process, and then I'll shut it off until I've finished before applying the final coat of polish and wax. So I've got my 1500 grit sponge ready, got it wet, and now I'm going to begin sanding to smooth out the finish on each of these blanks. You may be able to see the buildup of white. That's the CA glue being ground down. Get the pad wet again and go to the other one, the other blank. And you can see the buildup of the white as the CA glue is sanded down by the 1500 grit. I'll go through that one more time. I don't want to go too much because it could go all the way back down to bare wood, and I don't want that. And at this stage, I'm going to turn the lathe off, and I'm going to take some shop towel, bit of shop towel, and just dry those off. Now what I'm looking for is any part of the blank that might be shiny. I need to remove all the shine, because when I've got all the shine removed, I know that it's ready for the next grit. Just removing the shine means I've removed the outermost layer of the CA glue, and if there's any shine left, it means that that part is not smooth. Maybe it's a little bit of a divot, and so I need to get rid of all that. Now I do notice right here that there's a little bit of shine, over here, a little bit right here. So I'm going to go through the process with the same 1500 grit and make sure all of those shine spots or shiny spots are removed. And I do this now this direction because I don't want to create these circular spirals from the sanding grit, which can happen if you don't go back horizontal against or with the grain. Okay, that one looks good. I've got just a little bit of shine right here. Now that looks good. So I'm going to turn this and just eyeball it, and anything that has a little bit of shine, get rid of it. At this point, I don't need the pad to be wet. I'm just removing little bits to be able to get down to where that shine no longer is showing. Got all of the shine removed from each blank. I'll go through now, turn the lathe on, and just remove the material that has been shined off or polished off. And now I'm ready for the next of the 8 remaining grits. Okay, I've gone through all 9 stages of the fine sanding with the wet sand sponges. I'm now going to apply this one-step polish. It's specially formulated for plastics, and CA glue finish is a type of a plastic, so I'll shake the bottle up and then apply it with a piece of soft shop towel. Okay, I'm going to let that spin for just a moment, and then I'll go back in. I might apply just a little bit more on this side. Giving it a few seconds. I'll take the shop towel again and I'll begin to remove or buff out that polish. And then I'll turn the lathe off, check it before applying the wax. But now all that's left is to apply some wax. I apply wax that has a carnauba wax formulated into it. This is Meguiar's Gold Class Carnauba Plus Premium Paste Wax. Auto workers use this in waxing their cars. I found this particular product to be really ideal for this final process of polishing my pen blanks. So I turn the lathe on, apply the wax. Give it a few, well, maybe a minute or two to dry. Meanwhile, I'll put this back in the container and seal the container top. Now I've got a buffing wheel here. And rather than put this on and take the blanks off and buff it that way, I just use this with the lathe turning. I'm going to increase the speed of the lathe. About 2,000 revolutions per minute, and I'm going to just buff that wax off of each of these pen blanks. Yeah, that looks really nice. Okay, and here's that Cocobolo wood. You can see the shine is just spectacular on that. So the next step, I'm going to let that sit for a few minutes, and then I will take these blanks, the pen blanks, off of the mandrel and take you over to my workbench where we will put the pen together. So I finished with the polishing process. It's interesting to look at the before and the after. So we'll take the pen blanks and put the pen hardware together and end up with a final pen. So I'm going to allow you to watch me through this video over my shoulder. First, I think we'll start with what they call the nib of the pen, or the tip. What I'm doing now is I'm putting the blank, one half of the blank anyway, into this press here. And then I will press the nib into the pen blank. Being very careful to make sure it's straight. So that's the first step, putting the nib and pressing it into one half of the pen. At this point now, we'll take the other part and press in the pocket clip and the end cap, like so. So now the only part to install in this blank here with the nib is the machine, the threaded machine. Again, being very careful in pressing that cartridge in, not to do it in such a fashion that it goes cockeyed and breaks the pen blank. And now I check to make sure that when the ink cartridge is twisted, it's properly in place or in position, just like that. So finally, we put the middle section. There's a center ring that goes over that cartridge, presses down like so. And now we put this in place, the clip end. And there we are. Twist it.